Welcome, everybody. Thank you for joining us today for our 205th Capstone Defense in the MCM program. We're pleased to have Dana Duncanson here to join us to present his research on leveraging artificial intelligence for digital transformation, comprehensive guide for business improvement areas. He's joined by his supervisor, Dr. Alex Sévigny, his second reader, Professor Brie, Thorsteinson, Ogle. It's very complicated. Sorry, Brie. And I'm Terry Flynn. I will act as the chair of the defense. So for those that have seen these before, the process is Dana will present for 25 minutes, and then the panel will have an opportunity to ask him questions for 25 minutes. And then once that's completed, the panel will then conclave and then decide whether or not he's our 205th alum in this process. So it is now 11:05, Dennis, so you have till about 11:30, and you are on the clock. I'm going to just actually pin you so that you come up here. You're go.
Good. Thanks, Terry, and good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here today. I'm excited to present to you my research on leveraging artificial intelligence for digital transformation for business improvement areas. Slides. BIAs play a unique role in balancing public and private interests, driving economic growth and revitalizing urban spaces, all while operating with limited resources. However, evolving marketing trends and urban development pressures make strategic planning essential. AI presents an opportunity to help BIAs work smarter, but despite its potential, AI adoption for BIAs is still in its early stages. My research focuses on developing a practical guide to help BIAs integrate AI in a way that aligns with their mandates. By examining current strategic planning practices, AI's benefits and challenges, and best practices for adoption, this research aims to help BIAs embrace digital transformation with confidence and clarity. To guide this study, I focused on 4 key research questions. First, I wanted to explore how BIAs operate, how they plan goals, allocate resources, and engage stakeholders in decision-making. Establishing this baseline helps determine where AI could add value and where its adoption makes most sense. Next, I wanted to examine how AI could be integrated into BIA strategic planning through practical applications and tools, including its role in decision-making, process efficiency, and community engagement. I also wanted to assess the opportunities and challenges of AI adoption, looking at its impact on efficiency and resource allocation, as well as factors like return on investment and implementation barriers. I then wanted to understand best practices for BIAs to successfully adopt AI, focusing on training, infrastructure, and ongoing support to maximize its benefits and alignment with BIA goals. These research questions shaped my study's methodology and the development of the guidebook. So to begin my research, I reviewed literature on the role of BIAs, AI in digital transformation, strategic communication for organizational effectiveness, and strategic change management in the digital age. BIAs are legally recognized organizations of business owners and tenants managed by a volunteer board, funded by a special levy. They invest in areas such as marketing, public space improvements, and community initiatives to boost local economies. Initially focused on public space upkeep, BIAs now play strategic roles, tackling economic shifts, competition, and demographic changes. With limited budgets, they depend on data-driven planning. Their success hinges on strong leadership, sustainable funding, and adaptability. Digital transformation is the process of adopting new technology and fundamentally shifting how organizations operate. Anderson and Ackman-Anderson state that the real digital transformation requires change in organizational culture, processes, and strategy, ensuring that leaders, teams, and technology align. The internet and AI have accelerated digitalization, making communication, collaboration, and innovation faster. AI in particular is reshaping how organizations interact with technology, unlocking new efficiencies and opportunities.
Maybe on lunch at the scene.
Now, there is no single definition for AI as it takes on different meanings depending on the field or context. One definition states that AI is the ability of a machine to learn from experience, adjust to new inputs, and perform human-like tasks. So the focus here is on adaptability. Another definition highlights how AI performs human-like cognitive tasks, and a third speaks on how AI exhibits human-like behavior. Although the definitions differ, two common themes arise. AI mimics human abilities, whether it's thinking, learning, or acting, and AI is adaptable. It learns and improves over time. Generative AI is transforming strategic planning by evaluating business models and providing data-driven insights. It also enhances creativity, enabling businesses to brainstorm and develop stronger goals. Already, we can see that AI offers significant benefits, but of course, AI adoption comes with challenges, including data quality issues, workforce skill gaps, ethical concerns, and high implementation costs. Additionally, Morozov warns against technological solutionism, the idea that AI can solve everything. To maximize AI's potential, organizations must ensure they are structurally and culturally prepared for integration. Best practices for AI adoption require structured approaches and effective data management, such as the digital framework, which focuses on data quality, strategy alignment, collaboration, agility, and leadership. And prompt engineering, which helps improve AI accuracy and effectiveness with clear, structured prompts. The CREATE framework guides users in crafting precise prompts for high-quality AI outputs. AI ethics and data privacy are necessary as AI becomes more integrated into society. Flynn and Sévigny warn that without clear AI policies, organizations risk misleading communication and data misuse, eroding public trust. Other ethical concerns include AI's ability to amplify societal biases, the need for transparency, accuracy, and fairness regarding AI's decisions, and the privacy risk related to AI's reliance on personal data. Understanding AI's impact is key for assessing efficiency, decision-making, and community engagement. The Balanced Scorecard framework provides a structured way to measure the performance of an organization. The integration of AI into business practices could be evaluated across the scorecard's 4 key perspectives, allowing organizations to systematically track AI-driven improvements. This approach ensures that AI adoption is not only enhancing operational efficiency, but also driving meaningful outcomes that support long-term business goals and stakeholder value. Strategic planning is a core function of BIAs. Bryson describes strategic planning as a deliberate and disciplined approach to shaping an organization's direction. Leadership plays a major role in strategic planning. According to Grunig, the dominant coalition, who are a group of senior leaders and decision makers within an organization who have influence over strategic direction, must ensure that strategies align with stakeholder needs. But strategic planning is not just about leadership, it's about stakeholders. Freeman defines stakeholders as anyone who affects or is affected by an organization's objectives. But not all stakeholders are the same. Some are more involved than others. Grunig makes a distinction between stakeholders and publics, the latter being groups who are affected by any organization's decision but may not have direct influence. BIAs must actively listen to all of these groups. McNamara found that most organizations engage in one-way communication, broadcasting information rather than listening. The two-way symmetrical model of communication is the gold standard, prioritizing dialogue over persuasion. AI's integration is not just a technical shift, it's an organizational transformation. Cotter emphasizes the leadership is key and successful in digital transformation. His model highlights creating a sense of urgency, building leadership buy-in across stakeholders, and aligning initiatives with community and business needs. AI is most effective when paired with human expertise rather than acting as a replacement. Even with the structured approaches, resistance to AI is natural. Cotter stresses that addressing obstacles is key to maintaining momentum. Common strategies for overcoming resistance include effective communication, which reduces uncertainty and pushback, and supportive leadership, which fosters engagement and acceptance. By combining strong leadership, structured adoption models, and proactive resistance management, organizations can successfully integrate AI while ensuring buy-in from stakeholders. In order to further my understanding of how AI can help BIAs, I needed a strong research methodology that captured multiple perspectives to gain a more complete picture. The three research methods I used were interviews, a discourse analysis, and a focus group. For the interviews, I use a proposive sample strategy to select participants and conduct 14 one-hour semi-structured interviews with BIA executive directors from diverse regions, sizes, and levels of AI adoption. The goal was to understand their strategic planning approaches, the challenges they face, and the potential for AI integration. I then reviewed both the interview transcripts and any strategic planning documents that were provided to conduct a discourse analysis, examining the language used by executive directors to identify recurring themes, concerns, and assumptions. I used both predefined and emergent codes to categorize key findings. Predefined codes focused on strategic planning, AI integration, and stakeholder involvement. And emerging codes highlighted new insights. By analyzing patterns, I was able to identify opportunities and gaps where AI could enhance the work of BIAs and determine the structure, content, and language used in the draft guidebook. The next step was to validate the guidebook. I brought together executive directors and communications professionals for a 90-minute focus group session. So looking at the findings regarding question 1, BIAs take different approaches to strategic planning, but common themes emerged. Stakeholder engagement is essential, with many BIAs who conduct surveys and consultations with businesses, residents, and city officials to ensure their strategies reflect community needs. Flexibility is key for BIAs who describe their planning as nimble and adaptive, shifting from rigid long-term plans to more short-term actionable goals to stay responsive. Resource constraints make execution difficult, as BIAs often struggle to balance long-term strategic goals with immediate operational demands. Tracking progress is a challenge. Without dedicated staff for monitoring plans, leadership teams take on execution without a structured accountability system. Regarding question 2, AI adoption in strategic planning is still in its early stages, with most BIAs using it for basic tasks rather than high-level decision-making. AI is mainly used for administrative support. Some BIAs use AI for summarizing data, drafting reports, and automating routine tasks, but not for strategic planning. AI's potential lies in data analysis, supporting with trends and analyses, making decision-making more data-driven. Skepticism about AI's role is common, as many BIAs feel AI lacks the human nuance required for relationship building and stakeholder engagement, framing it as a tool for efficiency rather than a strategic driver. And several BIAs feel unequipped to fully integrate AI due to concerns over data security, cost, and lack of exposure to real-world applications. Regarding question 3, a number of potential benefits were identified. Many BIAs see AI as a tool for increasing efficiency, particularly in automating repetitive tasks like tracking KPIs and applying for grants. This allows staff to focus on more strategic initiatives. Several interviewees highlighted AI's potential to help standardize best practices across BIAs by developing shared tools and decision-making frameworks. AI also emerged as a valuable support for creativity, helping with brainstorming, drafting strategic plans, and summarizing reports more effectively. Several challenges and concerns were also mentioned, such as some leaders worrying about the over-reliance on AI, fearing it would weaken originality and human judgment and decision-making. Privacy and data security were also frequently raised as concerns, especially when handling sensitive community and business data. While AI can assist in stakeholder engagement, many interviewees stress that in-person interactions remain essential for building trust. There was also hesitation around AI adoption, with some BIAs feeling that training and a cultural shift would be necessary, something not all teams are currently prepared for. And for question 4, to successfully adopt AI, BIAs need a structured approach. Many BIAs feel that researching AI tools, testing pilot projects, and learning from peer organizations are essential before making a full commitment to AI integration. Since AI is still new to many staff members, hands-on learning opportunities and structured guidance are necessary to build confidence and familiarity. Interviewees stressed the need to measure AI adoption in practical terms, evaluating its success based on time saved, cost reductions, and improvements in community engagement. There's also a strong demand for more case studies showcasing successful AI use in BIAs to help reduce hesitation and provide real-world examples. Many BIAs use terms like experimenting, testing, and exploring to describe their AI journey, indicating hesitation and a preference for gradual adoption. The interviews provided real-world experiences, challenges, and opportunities that help shape the structure and focus of the guidebook, while the discourse analysis influenced the overall messaging. I wanted to ensure that the guidebook reflected the language and values expressed by BIA leaders and structured the draft guidebook into 4 key sections. The first was current landscape of BIAs, which provides a foundational understanding of BIAs, their evolving roles, and the challenges they face. The second was AI and digital transformation for BIAs, which outlines how AI can enhance decision-making and operations. It includes an overview of AI technologies, benefits and challenges, best practices, and useful AI tools. The third was implementing AI, which offers a practical roadmap for integrating AI in BIAs, providing step-by-step strategies, tools, and considerations for AI used in areas such as strategic planning, operations, marketing, urban planning and design, and safety and security. And the fourth was measuring AI success, which provides a sample scorecard for tracking AI's impact on BIA operations to help BIAs systematically evaluate AI tools and measures of success. After developing the guidebook, I wanted to validate its relevance and usability before finalizing it. The feedback from the focus group was incredibly valuable in refining the guidebook to better align with real-world BIA challenges and expectations. Here we see the themes that were covered in that session, along with the summary of the feedback from the focus group. I distilled the feedback into a consolidated list of revisions from the focus group session and revised the guidebook by adding case studies and a scenario for AI in BIA's operations, creating a dedicated administrative section, refining the AI tool categories, creating a starter's guide, including infographics, addressing AI literacy gaps, the addition of key learnings for each section, developing a hands-on workbook called My First Generative AI Project, and expanding online resources. While the focus group had many great suggestions, I had to make decisions based on the scope, feasibility, and relevance to the guidebook's purpose. Department-specific modules were excluded to keep the guidebook unified and prevent fragmentation. Pre-made training presentations were too rigid. Instead, the workbook allows for customizable training. Translation into additional language is something that may be considered for future updates, but wasn't feasible for this version. Team exercises were deprioritized because participants preferred individual resources like infographics and step-by-step guides. The environmental and economic impact of AI was acknowledged, but wasn't a focus since this guidebook is more about practical AI adoption for BIAs. Getting into the discussion, the interview findings supported what we saw in the literature. AI is not just a tool for automation, but a way to enhance strategic planning and operational effectiveness. However, while AI benefits are clear, successful adoption depends on thoughtful implementation, ensuring that technology supports human decision-making rather than replacing it. BIAs see AI as a tool for improving efficiency, automating tasks, and enhancing data-driven decision-making. So the guidebook translates AI frameworks into practical steps focused on low-cost, accessible tools and real-world case studies to help BIAs integrate AI effectively. The guidebook allows BIAs to start small and scale up, ensuring that different sized organizations can use AI at their own pace. Participants found that the guidebook was valuable, but wanted clearer AI tool categories, industry-specific examples, and simplified language. Based on feedback, new sections were added on cost, transparency, and hands-on learning tools to improve accessibility. While this study provided valuable insights into AI's integration in BIAs, it's important to acknowledge its limitations. First, because this research is qualitative, it offers rich, in-depth findings, but it's not necessarily generalizable to all BIAs. BIAs vary in size, resources, and operational contexts, meaning some findings may apply more directly to certain organizations than others. Second, this study primarily focused on executive directors and communications professionals. Other key stakeholders such as business owners, community members, and government officials were not included. Their perspectives could add valuable insights, especially on how AI affects daily operations, public engagement, and policymaking. Another limitation is the rapid evolution of AI technology. AI tools are advancing quickly, meaning some findings may become outdated as new technologies emerge. What works today may not be relevant 5 years from now, or 5 days from now even. So ongoing research will be needed to keep up with AI's evolving role in BIAs. Additionally, while this research focused on AI's strategic and operational applications, it did not fully explore its long-term ethical, social, and economic impacts. Questions around AI's environmental impact, workforce dynamics, and broader equity concerns remain open. In conclusion, AI presents a major opportunity for BIs to enhance efficiency, improve decision-making, and strengthen community engagement. For AI adoption to be successful, BIAs must prioritize stakeholder engagement, address ethical concerns, and ensure alignment with their organizational values. The guidebook developed through this research provides practical strategies, real-world examples, and AI literacy resources to support BIAs in integrating AI effectively. Looking ahead, future research should examine AI's impact on organizational culture, workforce dynamics, and funding opportunities to ensure long-term success. And by adopting AI strategically and ethically, BIAs can become more resilient, adaptive, and impactful in fostering vibrant, connected, and sustainable communities. Additionally, this research and its findings provide a template for developing a practical guidebook. In the essence of time, you can just have a look here for the steps that it would take to create a practical guidebook. And before I close, I would like to take a moment to express my deep gratitude to my Capstone advisor, Dr. Alex Sévigny, for his invaluable guidance and mentorship through this research. I'm also deeply appreciative of my second reader, Brie Thorsteinson Ogle. Brie, why is your name so long? Whose inspiring words, insightful feedback have been instrumental in this journey. A heartfelt thank you to the BIA professionals who generously shared their experiences and insights. Your contributions made this research possible. I'm also incredibly grateful to the faculty members of McMaster University's MCM program for your encouragement and support over the past 2 years. A special thank you to my cohort, MCM 16, a brilliant group of communicators who have challenged and inspired me to excel in this program. Most importantly, I dedicate this presentation to my mother, the late Udine Duncanson, who always reminded my siblings and me that you can do all things through Christ who strengthens you. Her unwavering faith and prayers shaped the foundation of who I am today. I am truly blessed to have been raised by parents who not only instilled in me a spiritual foundation, but also showed me what it means to walk in faith. That foundation has allowed me to manifest many of my dreams, and being here today sharing this research is one of those dreams realized. Thank you all for being a part of this moment with me. Now I'd love to open it up to Q&A.
Really? You would love to open it up for it? Really? I think you're the first one that's actually ever said that. But Dana, I want to thank you for a wonderful presentation, and also thank you for acknowledging your mom and your dad and your family, because we all know who've been through this. You can't do this by yourself. So congratulations. I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Sévigny for the first round of questioning.
So I just wanted to say it's been an absolute pleasure working on this with you, Dana. It's we met often, and we worked through a lot of challenges, and I think the product is fantastic. So it's really it was a pleasure to read, and the guidebook I think is going to be useful for the professionals in the BIA. So I'd like to ask you, what would you say was your biggest sort of methodological challenge in putting this together?
I think that the discourse analysis was a bit of a challenge, going back through the transcripts and really making sense of how executive directors were speaking about AI, and really just making sense, trying to understand how to then frame that in the language for the guidebook. And so the guidebook really does speak in sort of this common language that is very translatable, I think, to not only executive directors who happen to oftentimes be of a certain generation, but also to everyday BIA employees who have different levels of understanding in adopting AI. And a lot of them may not even have had experience with AI. So I think being able to just take all of that information from the discourse analysis and really translate it back into a guidebook that I had started working on was one of the bigger challenges.
Thanks. That's great. My second question is, what do you think is the value of taking this like deep research, evidence-based approach to putting together a guidebook like this?
Yeah, I think AI is a part of our reality that will continue to just process, right? To continue to progress with us in society. Right now, we're in the initial of 3 stages that people are speculating around what AI can look like. And so there may be a day where AI actually surpasses our own human intelligence. So the onboarding of an understanding of AI now is actually crucial as the world is moving forward and at a very fast pace, faster than we've ever seen before. So I think creating a guidebook like this not only encourages people to approach AI at whichever level they're at, but also to understand some of the challenges with AI, understanding how to implement it ethically, best practices around how to do that, and just really understanding that AI is this constant evolving thing. And so there's always this need to have to constantly see and understand what the changes are with artificial intelligence.
It's a great answer. Thank you.
Great. Brie.
Dana, that was excellent. And I actually really enjoyed reading that whole paper. So kudos, because we all have that oh, we have to read this. It's so fascinating. I've learned so much. And 2 things that came out of this that I find sometimes frustrating, we're always advocating for, is that ROI, that return on the investment for actually digging into this and doing it, and following it up with usability. So it's really strong theory and good foundational theory, but then how do you make this work, and addressing people's behavior, thoughts, considerations, and systems, how they are, not how they should be. I think you just did such an excellent job of looking at it in a way that can be directly applicable, and demonstrating the power of that theory and research. The question that I had kind of pertains to that is, you've got a mix of kind of more traditional and important theory, like stakeholder theory and communication theory, and then you've got AI, the emerging research around AI and around change management and behavior, and around organizational listening. So what were some of the biggest gaps or opportunities in research between those two areas that you uncovered?
Sorry, can you reframe it, Brie?
Yes, let me simplify it for you. There's some like more traditional theory, like stakeholder engagement and communication, and then the emerging stuff coming out about AI, change, behavioral change, and organizational listening, those pieces. What's the biggest challenge in joining those two as you were looking through the research?
Yeah, I think the important thing is not to lose yourself solely in one aspect, and especially with AI, right? I think a lot of people are leaning into it very blindly and moving forward with it and running with it. But it's still important for us to understand what our stakeholders need, and in particular with BIAs, not only thinking about your stakeholders that are your employees and the differences that might happen in the workplace, but also that we're also beholden to the many stakeholders within our community. So being able to take what we traditionally have done with stakeholders and building trust in relationships, and then figuring out how we can use AI to better those relationships and to create better value with those stakeholders is something that I think sort of creates the balance, and is sort of the tension between the two in a way as well, right? Because I find even with my team, like we sometimes want to run forward with AI, and we have, and so you always have to remind yourself of how is this impacting our stakeholders and also providing the necessary value for them.
That's excellent. I love that. Really quick question after that. Did you experiment with AI from a data analysis perspective? So you did your analysis, a very thorough analysis of the data that you collected as part of your research. Did you try comparing that to some of the AI analysis yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it was really helpful. And at times, actually, as I was so deep into the research, I had forgotten that the thing that I was writing about could actually be used as a tool to support me. And so even Alex and I had a conversation the other day about something regarding my research. And he suggested to me, like, why don't you use AI for it? And I was there for the last 2 days trying to crack the code on it. And so when you're looking at big data sets, and we've done this before with our data class, as well as other classes as well, AI is really helpful in taking those large data sets and just making sense of trends. I can see that directly even translating to, many of the businesses. You could be a local shop in RBIA who is looking at forecasting for sales, or trying to make sense of employee schedules. And so understanding how to take huge swaths of information and give it to AI to be able to make sense of, and then going back and just sort of testing it to make sure that the AI is actually producing quality output, are things that I have tested. And I think there's a lot of opportunity to continue moving it forward in that regard.
That's awesome. Yeah, I see so much applicability. Amazing work. Really amazing work.
So I'll take the opportunity to ask a couple of questions as well. Congratulations, first of all. This is a very, it's interesting how a very, very important applied guidebook can come out of a very theoretical genesis, right? And some very abstract ways of doing things. And it seems to me that when I look back on your AI policy development for 715, that there's a lot of genesis in that. So, that document was really looked at the ethical issues in developing this. When you were conducting your interviews and doing your focus groups, to what degree did these ethical frameworks that we discussed in 715 come to play in any of the discussions, if at all?
I think it was a huge part of the research. There may have been, through my research, there may have been moments where people weren't aware of it, but I think that skepticism that was reflected in both the interviews and the focus group really highlighted the need for solid ethics. And going back to 715 and thinking about those ethical frameworks, I think the deontological framework is something that is really important, really emphasizing the need for a duty-based approach to the implementation of AI. And so looking at the research and then how that sort of is applied to the real world and real scenarios, understanding things, and this is outlined in the guidebook, like framing up a AI working group who can help to establish rules and standards and policies around it is important, and especially important now where the government hasn't put out anything or industries don't have leading information. And so all of us within our own little worlds and circles, as we embrace AI, can start to encourage more ethical practices with the integration of AI.
Great. Yeah, no, I think that's important and good lessons to be able to learn, but also for other students in the program to be able to see that you can take things from any of the 3 classes that we've taught and to be able to incorporate these into your capstones. The one area I want to focus on, and Brie kind of touched on this, hey, did you use AI to kind of help analyze the data in that respect? When we do discourse analysis or any kind of content analysis, one of the things as scientists that we are interested in reliability and validity. Did we find what we actually found, or is there bias within that? I know in your paper that you don't talk about intercoded reliability or other people or other faces or other even machines looking at your data. So tell me your process of thinking about how this is reliable data.
For the discourse analysis specifically?
Yeah.
So what I did first with the discourse analysis is I actually placed all of the interview transcripts into after anonymizing the interviewees, of placing it into AI to be able to extract for me key terms and languages. And then once I was able to do that, I then sort of did a comparison by looking at the interview transcripts against what was produced. What I did find was that there were some inaccuracies, which reflects the need for having humans involved in the process. But for the most part, it was really helpful in helping to distill pages and pages of 14-hour conversations and a huge focus group down into something that was more comprehensive. And so it just made it easier when sort of reviewing and highlighting along the way what I was finding. And I was also using that as an opportunity to test how AI could be used when making sense of large amounts of information.
So do you think that that's enough today? I mean, traditionally, when we look at human coding or intercoder reliability, we have at least 2 different coders to make sure that as the researchers, our biases aren't overrunning what the data says, and suggesting that an AI, which you've identified with making mistakes, is that enough to in fact show that your analysis is valid?
No, I think that while I looked at the discourse analysis and then I was able to validate it in sort of a more real world application where there would be more implications that could happen if they were biased, that you should always have someone who is there, or again, using a working group to be able to validate it. And so even through this process, having Alex and Brie go through and refine and ask questions and strengthen my argument, or even challenging me on some of my perspectives, was the thing that was needed, and that didn't require AI at all. So I think it's sort of this iterative process. First of all, creating the foundational work, then moving into AI to see what it can help you make sense of, validating the work from AI, and then having someone else assess that.
Great. Thanks, Dana. Alex, back to you.
So yeah, I just want to note also that in a discourse analysis, it's a little less formal than a content analysis. But those are good questions. So what are you going to do with this research now that it's done in this guidebook? Where are you going to take this? Because it's such a great piece of work.
Yeah, thank you. That's a great question. So already I'm improving the readability of it. So for the sake of this research, it is 83 pages long, very content heavy. But now I'm looking at making it more user friendly. So really letting the content breathe, putting in more imagery so that it's actually more digestible. I've been working with and will continue to work with my team and our BIA office. We're also talking about maybe having an AI info session for our business members to allow them to leverage the content in there. So again, thinking about the smaller businesses that don't usually have a lot of resources and how they can actually like use it to support what they're doing in their operations. And then also I'm looking at also presenting it at different conferences. So I'll be at a conference in April in BC where I was invited to be able to present on this and to do a workshop with other BIAs out west. So yeah, I think there's lots of opportunities to move this forward. And then of course, this is just the first version of it, right? As AI continues to evolve, there's probably more that will come out of it. And we could probably also take each of those sections and flesh them out a bit more. So there's no shortage of opportunity. It's just a matter of how far do I want to go with it and to make it valuable.
Great, thank you. That's all I had.
Great. Brie?
Only one more. And this is really just I think there's been a lot of discussion around opportunities and even gaps, and then some of the risks. What is the biggest risk that you managed to identify from a business perspective moving into this space?
The biggest risk is really understanding that AI is really relying on personal data. So there's a huge bias that can also be at play. That's particularly important to BIAs. I think about how we promote our business, multiple of our businesses every day. And so there's a risk not only for putting out misinformation around like on our businesses, but also being seen as not credible because we're just sort of pushing out whatever artificial intelligence is feeding us. And so I think the ability to understand the knowledge and understanding that it is it can be biased is important to understand, and then doing that additional fact checking.
Great. I have no other further questions. We can we have a minute or so. We can ask the crowds gathered here today if they have any questions as well. No questions from the crowd. I love this. It's like there's they say they don't have a code, but they have a code for sure. There's no doubt about it. It's like no. Do we have a code? No, yeah, okay. Okay, well, thank you, Dana, for an excellent presentation. Very fascinating research. I'm going to put everybody in a breakout room except the panel here. And let me just get onto that. And then we'll come back when we are done our assessment very shortly. Okay, so if you can accept the invitation to join the room, then we'll bring you back in a couple of minutes.